Welcome back. Now speaking exclusively to ET now, the Managing Director of Piramal Finance and Housing Finance, Khushru Jijina, said that the merger process of Piramal Finance and Capitals with Housing Finance will be completed by mid-May, and the company expects that the synergies will contribute about 15 to 20% to the overall revenue. Listen in.
Suppose we will keep on growing at a healthy rate and probably above the industry growth rate.
And so how will the product mix shape up, and how will the growth be in each of these sectors? Finance, housing finance, in each of these sectors, how will the growth be?
So to answer your first question, I think the product mix will keep on changing obviously as we go along. If you've seen in the last 4 years, what have we done? We started with structured debt, moved on to construction finance, and now LRD, and now housing finance. Even in the non-real estate space, we first started with mezzanine lending, then moved on to project finance, added senior debt, and now we are also giving money to emerging corporates. So it's a journey which will keep on unfolding. As and when the housing finance also grows, we have said that in the next 2 to 3 years, housing finance will be at anywhere between 15 to 20% of our book. We have said that before also.
So in terms of housing finance, a lot of your loans are to developers, and in the light of high inventory levels, how do you mitigate asset quality risk?
So I think the trick lies is in this market, which has gone through one of the toughest times. In fact, what has really happened is that this market has actually segregated the good developers from the bad. As I have always said, that the 10% developers are now surviving and actually started in many micro markets doing better than before, and the other 90% are not doing well. Now coming back to your question, for these developers, the sales are actually happening, and it also goes back to our underwriting models. If you underwrite the project based on the reality of what's happening, I think things are fine.
And so what are your views on the project prices, or the prices where you have a presence?
I think generally I can tell you prices are not going to go up in the near term, for a very simple reason that really, I think what is really happening again in this last 1 year, that the supply is, and the demand and the supply are slowly inching towards each other, because in the last 3 years nobody has come out with many launches. But in the long term, in the 5 year or 4 year, I cannot predict, with launches becoming less and less, with developers only 10% of the developers surviving, I ultimately see that the prices will go up. But in the short term, I don't see prices really moving up.
And so what will be the growth strategy ahead for Piramal Finance? Will there be more of organic growth, or will there be more of inorganic? And if there are inorganic, what will you most be looking at?
So we have said this in the past, that we believe mainly in the organic growth, and the reason is very simple. Just to build the AUM, we do not want to get into loans which we are not aware of whether they are good or bad. And more important than the loans is the culture. In financial services, one of the successes which we have had is because our team, in fact our entire group, believes in the value system, the Piramal way of doing things, which is more important than the AUM. By going for an inorganic growth, I wouldn't be sure about whether the culture of that organization matches that of our organization. So we prefer organic growth over inorganic.
And so you've received RBI's approval of merging Piramal Capital and Finance with. So how is work going by? But you are supposed to complete it by March 2018, if I'm not wrong. So how is work going on in that front?
I think this is on schedule, and it will be effective March. But I think by the middle of May, we should get all our permissions in place, because that's just a process.
And so what are the talks at the management levels for listing Piramal Finance separately?
So I think our chairman is on record that in the medium term we will be looking at separating the pharmaceutical and financial services.
And so you have invested about 4,000 crore in Shriram Group. So any further investment plans or anything on that front?
No, as of now I think we remain invested in Shriram, and it is giving us a good return. It's giving us an 18% IRR return.